the news. How you doing today? Meanwhile, we have the government trying to say, go crazy, saying that, hey, they control the weather and that they are the ones that need to come up with a carbon tax in order to say that they can stop and reverse all these things, when yet all these things happen all on their own. And they really don't have any control over anything. They don't have any control over their bladder, much less have control over much of the weather. But anyway, the government's trying to push through this legislation. The globalist cronies are all in behind it to try to stand to make a huge profit off of us by high taxes, and to make a nationwide or global tax, a carbon tax is what this is called, so that they can make money off of something that really they have no control over whatsoever. Other things happened in the news. They also said that the tornado in Oklahoma City that happened, that ravaged lots of people and destroyed and killed over 20-some people, injured hundreds of people, was caused by not paying a global tax, or not, giving in to the government to pay this tax. And that way it was their fault, and that's why it happened to them. The people died because it was their fault, because they caused the bad weather to happen, because they wouldn't bow down and pay this fraudulent, adulterous tax. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where it talks about, these false gods that would sit around and go banging on their chest. Again, if you don't pay us, if you don't give us rolls or give us your gold so we can melt it down into something, I'm going to make the sun not come up tomorrow morning. But the sun still came up. But the people were so dumb and scared and afraid that they believed it, and they did give them the gold, or they did give them the best meat, or they did give them, see, that's what the global elite are doing, the best meat, they're in this stuff. They think that you're going to be so dumb and believe that you're going to give in to some erroneous tax to pay it out of fear from them, that you will be destroyed by some weather or meteorological or, other or earthquake or flooding event, when really they can't even control it. But yet they'll try to falsify and say, oh yeah, if you don't pay it, it's your fault because you didn't pay the tax. And that's a lie from hell. But as I want to tell you the story, what happened was, God was there saying that he could control the volcanoes and everything, when really he couldn't. And what happens is the ground opened up and swallowed him up. So, you elitists, you better be careful, because the ground could swallow you up. So you better stop playing with God and saying that you're a God and control the weather and control the elements to get people to pay your little carbon tax, because that's fraud, and you know it as well as I know it. And as far as you, Al Gore, you got to stop putting out that falsified information about global warming. The world is actually getting cooler now. There's charts that show carbon monoxide is going down. It's also showing that there's not a lot of pollution in the atmosphere, so you all need to stop shutting down the power plants on falsified and inaccurate data. That's just like me saying, hey, men have breasts. They have women breasts. Well, I guess they do if they're transsexuals, but I can say, oh, men have women breasts. Give to this donation, That's how absurd these things are in Washington. They'll just make up anything, just for the sake so they can make money off of something that ain't even real or even true, even. And yet they have the audacity and the heroism to even say, or even to even talk about these notions in Congress, to come up with some kind of tax. You all ought to be ashamed of yourselves, because it's totally wrong. Because you can't control the weather no more than I can control the farts that come out my behind. You can't control the planets no more than I can control the universe. Because the only one that can truly control it is God Almighty. Not God the Methuselah, not God the Satan, not God of any other God, but Jesus Christ is the one that really controls it all. And that's what we all got to realize. And you're messing with something you don't understand, so you all better stop dancing with it, because you're going to lose. I guarantee you. The Bible is full of examples. You better look at the Bible and read it, because it has all kinds of examples to those who want to act like they're false gods and say they can control the weather and control the planet and control, the earthquakes and all that. And what happened to them in the Bible, it will also come and pass. And also, it will come to pass and happen to you. So you better stop messing with something you don't know what you're messing with. And stop lying to people and trying to get money. Tell them they got to have sex with their children and all, so that you can have supreme power or something that you don't have no power of it, because you're just an adulterer and you're just a criminal and you ought to be locked up, trying to say you have control over the weather. And having that kind of notion, that's criminal in itself. It's treason and it's wrong and it's false. And it's fraud. It's a con. It's all a con. It's all from hell. So don't give it to that, people. Don't believe this stuff that they're trying to put out. It's not true. They can't control nothing. They can control some of the weather, but they can't control it all, like they claim on TV. We have equipment that can control everything. No, they don't. They can control some stuff, but not all of it, because God, I've seen it where they tried to see clouds to make thunderstorms. It showed on TV, and something happened, even though normally they would form. But on this day, when they were doing it, they never formed. And the people, the army and all, they were getting mad because they were trying to create thunderstorms, and they couldn't create them because they kept collapsing. And the reason why is because God was collapsing them. That's the reason why. That's why it wasn't working. It wasn't because they weren't doing it right. It's because God collapsed them. Because you're dealing with something that's a lot more stronger, a lot more intelligent, and a lot more divisive, and a lot more creative than you. And when you mess with something that's something you can't see, the wrath of God will come on you. It will come on all those who are doing it. So you better stop doing it. And that's my news for today. Happy Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day and Memorial Day weekend. I love you all, and thanks for your service, and thanks for all the people who literally gave their lives for our freedoms that we have today. Like I said, if you don't exercise your liberties and/or freedoms, you will not have them. So, folks, we need to continue to exercise our liberties and freedoms. Don't worry about what the government says, because they have no control over you. God gave us those freedoms and liberties, not the government. God gave you that right to have the arms, not the government. Don't believe that. The government didn't give you the right to bear an arm. God did. Remember, God is the one that gave individuals the right to bear an arm. And then the individuals also gave government the right to bear arms, because it all always stems from the people before it hits the government. And that's why the people are empowered in this country. If you look at the history and Constitution, you look at the Bible, that's where it all comes from. The people have the power, and then the people who were elected got the power in the government to have the power. That's how it happens. Without the people, there's no power, because that's where it all comes from, the people. And then the government, who's been elected, has the power. But it's only through electoral process. If they're not elected officials, or they're not in the government, or there's no power. Because it all comes from the people first. That's how this wonderful nation was formed, from the people. And that's why the people who are elected are servants to work for the people. And that's really what it's all about, folks. So don't let them try to tell you all this kind of bozo kind of history, and try to put all this kind of craziness and try to rewrite what the facts are and try to change it to falsify things. So, really follow what the Constitution says. Stand up for the Constitution and stick behind it. And stick behind all the amendments, too. They can't overwrite them. They can't throw them all out like they're trying to do. They can't do that. They really can't. They were written in such a way so they could never be overthrown or ratified or changed. And that's what the real government that's powered by the people, meaning us, the people, is really what it's about. So you really look at your history and really look at the Bible, because that's really where the power came from, was from God, which was put in the people, which was given to the government by the people and from and for the people. So think about that, folks. Happy blessed Memorial Day. See you tomorrow at church or online. I hope you can make it here to our Sunday morning service at 11 o'clock and our Sunday night service at 7 o'clock. I love you all in the Lord. Peace. And I'll see you tomorrow. This is Michael DeSilvis, evangelist at New Hunter Church of Christ. This is my blog for the 25th of May, 2013. See you later for now. God bless.